We'll talk about some other stuff anyway. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the finale of SJM-Along. Look at us. We're here. We made it to the end.
It's been a long time, has it not?
Wow, it definitely has. But I'm so glad that we did this. I've told this story on the last 3 live shows, but I'll do it anyway. This book is the reason why I started SJM-Along, because I read this book, and as soon as I finished it, I was like, I need to read all of these again, which now those of you who finished will probably know. We'll wait just a minute or two before spoilers, just in case someone, because hey, Melissa. You made it. When I finished it, I immediately was like, I need to start again. And I knew that I would need my friends to help make sure that I made it through all of them. So that's why we're here, is because of the last chapter of this book. It's because I was like, nope, I immediately need us to reread this. So yeah, and thank you guys for coming along with us. And I've started doing this because I saw Brielle do it. But hello, if you're on the replay crew, if you're watching this, if you're our friends who couldn't quite get through this last one before the live show, we're happy to have you here watching it with us. Definitely message your theories down below when we get to the theories part, because I'm excited about this. We will wait a couple minutes and talk about some other stuff. But what I'm going to say first is I do have this set up differently than previous months. We're not going to do a complete beat by beat like we have. Those have been getting super long. And I also want to get to the good stuff with this one. So we're kind of going back to what we did in the beginning of Throne of Glass, and we're going to go kind of character by character. And then, of course, I'm happy for us to get drugged down whatever paths we do, but we won't do from the first page to the last page like we have, because frankly, I don't have the patience to get to what I want to get to. And I think a lot of us reading the Crescent City books, we also lose patience with them. And I know these are the books that are the hardest for some people to get through. And me too, because it's been a lot. It's a lot. So first we'll start with some of these. So yes, Candace, you go, girl. Can't wait. I know. It feels so far away. I definitely will have to reread these two again in probably November, because my December is so busy, but I will probably reread these. Can't wait to chat about everything. Yes, I love this so much.
Hey, Lizelle.
Yeah, girl. Hey, Braylee. Hello. This was such a good way to end the read along, right? I know.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much in this fucking book that I forgot, and all the great things. So let's start just a little bit before what is everybody currently reading? I know some people they probably just finished this, but what is everybody currently reading? We'll do this just until 6:10, and then we'll get started, and hopefully everyone will be here who wants to be here. So Joe, what are you reading right now?
I am taking a little bit of a break from romance. Not a huge break, but I have this shelf that is I went through all of my books, and that's my maybe keep, maybe get rid of shelf. So one of the books that was on there was Heartsick by Chelsea Kane, I think her name is. It's a murder mystery book. I used to be really into that stuff back in the day. So I'm 50 pages into that. It's gruesome. It's fucked up, just the way I like it. And it's pretty interesting so far. I mean, but the past week has been trying to get through this behemoth. So I just started that other one, I think, today. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Melissa?
I am reading, I started it last night, The Third Baseman by Lulu Moore. It's the baseball romance that just came out a couple days ago. So,
right. Well, you're someone I would trust your opinion for that one. So it's good. I've seen both super positive, and then I just had a friend tell me they DNF'd at 10%. So I was really excited to jump on, and then one of my close friends was just like, I'm done. And I was like, whoa, okay. Very opposite opinion from people. But I usually agree with their opinion more. So I was like, what will some other people think? Because lately I've been trusting Bookstagram more. They've been more right than not lately, but I'm also prepared at any time for me to not agree. Like, I'm always pleasantly surprised when I like the books that people are reading. You're reading Marl. Oh, I want to read that, Lizelle, so much. Love it. You're listening to Butterfly Swords. I saw you were reading another Jeannie Lynn. I just bought a couple more of her books, Stacy. I definitely want to do that. And The Vampire's Mail Order Bride by Kristen Painter. Nice. Amanda is finishing up Snow. Oh, great book. Love
Snow
it.
is my favorite. I love Snow. Oh, it's one of my favorites of hers.
Yeah,
Jenn knows because I was word vomiting the entire time I was reading that.
I mean, Sophie Lark is always a good trip, but Snow, when things were simpler, like Ivan and Snow are like when times were simple. For sure. Well, I'm actually doing a reading vlog for my like actual channel, which I don't normally do. But I actually have a sponsored video where I needed to do a reading vlog, which I was like, so fancy. So I just finished The Serpent and the Wings of Night today. Really enjoyed that. That was cool. But now I'm going to read some arcs that I have because I really want to catch up on arcs. So that was the last book from arcs that I needed to read. And now I have some April arcs. So I did just start Bewitched by Laura Thalassa, which I've been anticipating. And yeah, I mean, I'll reserve my thoughts. I'm only 75 pages in. Like, this book looks deceptively like normal size, but it's 450 pages. So like, it's no slouchy book. Like, this one's chunky. But yeah, I have some questions already. Which I'm sure she will answer, but very interesting. So that's kind of what I got going on for me. I've been reading a novella series, Kingstown series. Oh, okay, cool. Lizelle liked The Third Basement. Good. So like I said, I heard a lot of people liking it, but then the person who said they didn't is someone that we usually feel the same. So that's why I was nervous. Reading Six
Well, I'll
Swords.
let you know how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be looking for it. I hadn't even heard about it until like 2 days ago. So I haven't formed like a strong opinion one way or the other about it. Like, there's one I just read and loved. I gave 5 stars, and one of the other friends just gave it like a 2.5 in their monthly wrap up. And it was one of my favorites of the month. So by no means doesn't matter. Yes, Braylee, I have this one keyed up and ready to go because I need to bridge the time until the Ashes and the Star Cursed King. I think that's what she's going with it, because y'all, there's something to be said about a hero whose name is R with a random H thrown in his name. Okay, I'm just putting we got Resand, we got Ruin, now we have well, even Hunt, there's an H in there. It's not a silent H or anything, it's in there. But the hero of this one's name is Rain with a random H in Rain.
Gotta love it.
Where I'm like, how do we make something fantasy? Add a silent H into this. But that book, y'all, it was the Vampire Hunger Games in the best way. Like, not in the kitschy way that people have been making things like the Hunger Games for the last decade. Like, it legit was, it was fantastic. Really enjoyed it a lot.
Sounds great.
I need to get into Katie Wismer. I've been following her for ages, so I need to get into them. But all right, so it is 6:10 now. So one final warning for anyone. If you are here just because you want to snoop around, I mean, if you're a snooper, you probably already know the big things we're going to talk about if you're a snooper, because I'm a snooper myself. I think I've said this. I accidentally spoiled this book for myself when I was about at the 70%. I was just flipping to see where the end of the book was. Shame on me, okay? Shame on me.
And it's the last line, too.
Well, and it's not even the last line. It's not even the last line.
Because it's the epilogue, but
well, I know, but there's
the
a whole
last
other
line of the main.
But it's not.
Yeah.
Her epilogues are important. And I flipped to see where the book ends, and I saw the name, and I was like, fuck my life. So then I had to stay up until I finished it, because I was going to just see, oh, how much do I have left? And then I saw that, and I was like, fuck this. Okay, here we go. First time readers. How are you doing? How are you doing if you read this the first time? I know we don't have anyone as an example for this, because both of the people who are going to be our first time readers, they couldn't make it tonight. So we can ask theirs.
Yeah, huh?
What?
I forgot Rachel hadn't read this one yet.
I know. And she didn't reread the first one. So then she was like, oh, I'll just wait. And I was like, I know, but the point was we wanted your reaction. But of course, you can't tell people why you want their reaction, because then it's like spoiling it. But
Yeah.
well, let's just see. I know a lot of y'all, this is your first time, so we need your comments here because we're all rereaders, and we'll talk about the rereading effect soon, but I need to know y'all who read this for the first time, because did I make it through this one in one day? This one might have been no, I did make it through it because I got sick when I was at work the day this came out. I didn't think, I was like, oh, this release, I don't need to read this the first day, because I didn't read Crescent City the first day, right? I put that one off for a while because I was seeing mixed reviews on it, blah, blah, blah. Well, I just need to learn that I need to not trust people's mixed reviews, because
You need to trust Sarah J. Maas.
because here's what we've learned. Even if we are a little bored by parts of the book, it's still going to be fucking important, okay? And like, she doesn't, I know it can feel like wasted words, but I don't personally feel like any of these are wasted words once we see where we're at, because there's so much detail just in what beings look like and like the powers that they have and like who they resemble, because where we end up by the end of this, it's like all of those things are so important. And that's how I felt about rereading Crescent City the first time. So here we go. You are unwell. Yes, we're all we're all unwell, okay? Just so many questions about this.
I went back and rewatched my vlog that I posted for this. I was like, oh, yeah, I was so wrong about some of this stuff.
Right? Well, it's so interesting because I was like, because like I said, I didn't finish my story because I got distracted by people's comments, which is what we're here for. I started it at work. Like I was saying, I started at work because I can listen to audiobooks. I was listening to it. And, there's this stuff about Sophie. And we're like, oh, it's been 3 months. And I was like, what? They're not sleeping with each other yet? Come on. So annoyed. Like, whatever. And then, like, some stuff's coming out. And I was like, wait. I need to focus on this. So I guess I'm just going to have a migraine and go home, which is what happened. I went home. And then I proceeded to listen to this until I think I finished it at like 1:30 in the morning. And had no one to talk to because no one else was done yet, which is a problem when you take the day off of work to do it. But yeah, there was just so much. So Stacey, I'm so glad you did it too. Oh, that makes me so happy. If I can coerce people into reading Sarah J. Maas, my life is complete. Glad I've waited so long to read it so I don't have to wait as long. That's true. That's true. And I mean, when we started the readathon, I said, hopefully by the time we're done, we'll know when the next book is coming out. Well, it's almost a year away from when we finish, but we did get closer. We did get us a little closer. So there's that. Yeah, well, we were laughing at Candace. She seems good. It seemed like the natural progression for SJM given the previous series. Yeah, we will get to that. I knew something big was coming. Right? Oh my God. So here's the thing, God, I wish I hadn't have spoiled myself, because when she lands in hell, and again, I know I'm jumping ahead already. When she lands in hell and we start, I immediately was like, it's Azrael. And I wonder if I would think that if I didn't see the last line. I wonder if I thought could I have thought it was someone in Throwing Glass instead? I had no idea who that could have been. But I knew it was Azrael because I had, because I was peaked. I was like, oh my God, it's Azrael. And I don't know if I immediately would have thought it was him the way I did this. But I filmed myself reading the last chapter in epilogue, and I don't know if I'm going to get the courage to post it. Oh, you should. It's so good.
Post it.
Nothing about the series is a waste of words. I totally agree. Is she overly wordy? Yes. I think... Okay, here's the thing I'll say. I think the level of fan that you are, and this isn't to disparage anybody who does find it overly wordy, because it is. That's the thing. It is. But the way I felt upon rereading things of hers is the more that you love it, the more that it's I want even more words.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it doesn't feel wasted to me, even though when people say oh, there's just too much stuff. I'm like, maybe, but I would also read another 1,000 of them. it's never a big enough book when you love it, even though technically from a literary point of view, it is too much book, you know?
Yeah.
I loved it. I can't wait for the next books. Love it. My thoughts were it's not as right? I mean, no. Nobody's names are said. Nope. Nobody's names are said except for Rhysand. But I mean, when she lands there, like I had friends who they were guessing who it was. Like I had people giving me play-by-play and they're like, wait, I'm on the lawn of this place. And if not when it's Asriel, when Amren's in the room, like they know by then. Because Amren's very distinct character, so people know. So the names are never said, but that's why I think if this was the only series of hers you're reading, you probably will recognize the name Rhysand because, you know, if you're reading a series of her, you might know who the name Rhysand is, but you might not know what significance it is if this is your only series of hers. So then it's people being like, oh, Rhysand is from something else. And then you get people who will probably read ACOTAR to read this. So I think that's interesting. I was slightly spoiled for the ending, so that was a little sad. It is hard not to be spoiled about the ending of this book. I mean, I feel like people still do a pretty good job. Because even any fan posts I see, so many people are like, don't spoil Post-Ab, where I'm like, it's a year later. It's a year later. Do you know when the next book is up? We do know, Care. It is January 30th. Candace posted at the beginning. I know you just hopped on. It is this day. This is when it's coming. The pre-order is available. You can pre-order it everywhere. And I'm sure they made a shit ton of money on that day. Okay. All right. How about us rereaders here? I've talked enough now. Melissa, how about you?
So the first time reading this, I wasn't as emotional as I was when I was reading House of Earth and Blood, but I cried the second time reading this. There's just things that I'm like, no, why?
I totally agree with you. I didn't cry the first time.
But I didn't cry the first time, and I think because I was like processing it all, and I was just like, wait. Right. But then this time it was like I was just in for the journey.
Yeah, same. Joe?
Well, the first time I read this, it took me a lot to get through it. Jen, you're pretty much like, Joe, you gotta read it. You got to. You're gonna regret it if you don't. And if you don't read it now, you're gonna get spoiled, and you're really gonna be kicking yourself. Yeah. I'm glad that I got through it the first time, but I had so much difficulty with it. I think that with this series, with reading it in publication as they're coming out, I can't just binge through it. So I have all of these loose ends that I want to be tied up, and all of these new things being introduced that don't really have, like, they're not played out yet. So it makes me a little bit frustrated. But the same thing with the first book. I liked it a lot better this time around. It's not my favorite of hers, but I definitely enjoyed it. It's a solid 4. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
And I think the characters in this book and the relationships and different things like that, they start getting really, really strong in this book. So yeah, I liked it. Yeah. I liked it.
I think that's a great thing to say too. I mean, I'm just a person of like, don't ask me with a gun to my head how to rank these books, because it's something I wanted to do when we got to the end. And I was like, no, I don't want to rank them because I don't, like, they're all 5 or 6 stars for me. But I think it will be interesting, you know, being in the community we're in where we do rereads. Like, this is obviously like a bridge book in some ways. Honestly, I feel like the first 2 books are bridge books. And that's why I think it is impressive how much I found that I was loving the characters. Because I gotta say, when I reflect on how I felt about reading these the first couple times, I did not have like ride or die characters at all. Like, I didn't dislike anyone because Sarah builds great people, but I didn't have anyone that I was like, you're my person in or anything. Like, I just really didn't. And it wasn't until this reread where I realized what my like ride or die like people are. And we'll talk about those because we're gonna go, like I said, we're gonna go character by character tonight. But I didn't realize how attached I was to some people, and that's why I cried a few times. Melissa, is I was like, wow, this character has grown on me so much, and this emotion they're feeling is hurting me. Whereas in previous, I was like, wow, this is great storytelling, right? So yeah, I just love that. I love that. So let's see some of these. I knew we were going to learn that Cece and Akatar was connected. Yes. And I will say, like, I've said that from the beginning of this readathon, because that was the purpose of the readathon. Is I've said again and again, I was like, we learned that Akatar and Crescent City are connected. And we know that Akatar is connected to Throne of Glass. Is Crescent City connected to Throne? Like, that was kind of what I wanted to see through the readathon. So, I mean, I did kind of spoil that for people that, like, they're connected. But, you know, also, like, are they connected the way Throne of Glass and Akatar are connected, where it's just like they pass each other in the night? This is a direct, like, hi, nice to meet you. We've broken the fourth. Like, if there was a fourth wall to break, it's like we broke the fourth wall of it being connected. So this series made me appreciate it, especially even more. I adore the world and the characters all stand out. Yeah, very true. Very true. I mean, I still think Bryce and Hunt are like the star, but I really feel like all kind of 5 main POV characters, like, they all have a story to tell more than like supporting the other ones. That's how I felt about it this time. I will pre-order after this. Love it. So glad, Carrie, you do it. Hi, everyone. This one was a hard read for me. I found that it dragged so much, but then I read the ending and I had to do breathing exercises. Elena, that's how I felt
pretty much. Yeah, so. That's pretty much my exact reaction. When I finished that book the first time, I was sobbing, crying. I threw the book across the room. My book is damaged. I mean, it's damaged because I was so.
She threw it so hard.
I had such a visceral reaction to it, but I had struggled through the entirety of the book up to that point. But yeah, totally get that.
Yes, the plot is intense. Yes. I saw a lot of connections between House of Sky and Breath. Yes. Yep. We will get to those for sure. I finally pulled the trigger buying the Akatar hardcover set. Yes. Good choice. Good choice. Also, this is me pimping out products again, but the Throne of Glass page overlays by Dusty Bookshop went on sale today. You can get them for any paperback or hardcover set that you have. And there is 6 overlays for the first book. There's going to be some for every book. And they're only $30, which it's pretty good compared to some other things we do. So anyway, just wanted to pimp that out. Go check out the Dusty Bookshop. I may have had a timer set so that I could get them immediately. I don't think these will sell out because they're going to just like print however many that they need for these. But you never know. They might be like, that's too much physically that we have to do. So I have to say that after attaching to Nahima earlier on, I try not to get attached. Right? We'll talk about it. I felt pain for some people. We had a lot of people who lost their mates in this one, and I don't know how deep their mating connections are, but like we had some struggling people in this one. Okay, as usual, I just keep us going too long. So let's dive in. Like I said, I kind of have this set up by character, but it will go wherever everybody wants to go. My point is to like get us through this. So, but we will, of course, need to start with the prologue and Sophie. And by this, I don't just mean Sophie in the prologue, but I mean everything Sophie means. Like, we can talk about all of her. So this was a weird prologue to have when you're just jumping it. I think that this was a cool thing to be rereading because once we know that, like, I was fully convinced we were going to find Sophie alive in the book. I don't know if anyone else felt that way, but I know they said that she was, but until that underwater submersible, people was like, we found the dead body. Like we have her body. Or whoever has her body. Did they have her body? They have her body.
They had her body.
Yeah. They have her body because, I believe she was alive. So I didn't like fully like care about her too much, but I was sure we were going to find her alive.
Yeah.
Especially because Cormac didn't think she was gone. So, I mean, Cormac's gone now as well, from what we know. He like sacrificed himself for our scheme. But I was kind of, because he said he didn't feel like she was gone. So I was wondering if like someone had taken her power and that's what he felt or what. Because he didn't think she was gone. And so I was like, okay, well, it's not for sure that those two are mates. Like, that's just his partner, so maybe he wouldn't know. But I mean, I thought he might have been her mate, so I was like, well, is he just not believing she's gone, or is like some part of her not gone? I don't know. So that's why I thought she was alive the first time, because I was like, she can't be dead. She can't be dead.
Oh, I thought she was alive until we saw her body, because in my opinion, Sarah J. Maas, I mean, you can't trust anything that she does until you see a body. You can't trust the death until you see a body. That's why I hold out hope.
Decapitated like
or,
dead.
I hold out hope for Cormac because I like Cormac, but you never know. Yeah, it would have been a good death, but I still hold out hope. But also, she's killing a lot of people in this series, a lot more than her other series, and she's keeping to the deaths.
I do like it. I feel like that. I mean, I know we've established now that like all of her books really like were meant to be adult. She was kind of pushed into the young adult field, but this one definitely does feel more adult right from the beginning with the drug use and the promiscuity, which I don't have a problem with, but like it was definitely set to be more adult. And I feel like the deaths really say that too. Like, how often do people actually die in YA books? Like, they just don't die. I hope CC3 doesn't start a prologue people dying again.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
We'll see. My gut. Okay, this is a theory that has nothing to do with theories, but is a theory. I feel like it's going to start with a prologue of like Hunt and how much he's suffering, and then it'll like go to where Bryce is at and being like, are we in hell? Like, we'll go back to where we were. That's my like gut.
Yeah.
Is where we'll be.
Yeah.
Cormac, he grew on me, right? Okay, also rereaders, who forgot that Cormac was kind of good?
I did. When he first showed up, I was like, oh my God, I remember that guy. I fucking hate that guy. And then I was like, oh, but he's actually kind of cool though.
He's so good at being pushy when he's like,
nasty little man at the beginning.
Yeah, when he's like, I need to marry you. And we're just like, fuck off. And then the Autumn King is like, you're going to marry her. Marry him. And then we're like, oh, yeah, it's a ruse. I totally forgot. I didn't think she was dead until I saw the body. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know. Cormac. He's definitely the one to, I mean, we started this talking about Sophie and we got sidetracked. So we're talking about Sophie. For like, I feel like he does have the pureness of a rebellion going. It's people like Pippa who have turned it into kind of like a crusade for power themselves. And so I think that's why Cormac too, not only is he like doing this because this was Sophie's thing, you know, and he's in it too. Because he doesn't have to do this. He's a fae. Like, he's not the one really suffering from this, you know, and he was the one of like, he's had kind of a redemption arc from who he was when like they were kids, right? Because I mean, he's their cousin, kind of. He's Rune's cousin on the side that wouldn't make him related to Bryce. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, what there's other stuff about Sophie could we say?
She's a badass. I think I wish that we had so much more from her character, but I kind of like the way that it is because she's this badass in the past. And so you see her in the prologue, and then you see her when they're trying to figure out how to get it into the series, like dungeon of information. And she's just so smart, and she's strong, and she's capable, and she's dead.
Yeah.
But it's cool. She's a very, very cool character that we don't get to see that much of. And I think I think it's interesting the way that Sarah J. Maas did it that way, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed.
Well, and she cracked into it. Like, she's the reason we're like, because our like group doesn't really know what they're looking for. They're just trying to see what Danica and her and them were into. And it's through that we find out all the big reveals. So she really was kind of the first phase. She got caught. So, and she is a Phoenix Thunderbird. What is she?
Thunderbird.
I couldn't remember which bird she was.
She's some sort of bird, a powerful bird.
So that was interesting too. About, like I said, I thought it was going to go somewhere with, like, the reason Cormac didn't think she was gone was, like, he was feeling her power somewhere or something. Like, maybe they were able to take it, but could just be wishful thinking on his part, which is what I probably think that is. So, okay. Then we have, I did put this here. So we had a 3-month time gap. Do we think that was good or too much? How do we, like, feel about starting there? I know that's a good question.
I think it was good because I think had we picked up right where we left off, like, it would have just been too much healing. And I mean, obviously that's still part of it, but it would have just been like trying to get over what had happened. And so we don't, I mean, it'd be nice to see it, but we don't need to see it all. We needed all the other stuff to happen more than seeing them just being best friends and roommates, which is really annoying.
Yeah. I remember about 2 weeks before the book came out, SJM was on the Fated Mates podcast, and she said that, like, oh, they won't be having sex for a long time because they're taking it slow. And I was like, Sarah, you took it slow for 800 pages. Queen of slow burn, everyone. Queen of slow burn. I mean, for such horny people too. She just is so makes them take it so.
Absolutely.
I do wish the Thunderbird powers were exploded. Yes, true. And my thought is, like, will we meet another one? Maybe we meet another one. Could be possible.
Maybe that's one of the loose ends that I feel like.
Oh, you're okay.
I was just going to say that's one of the loose ends that I feel like is hopefully going to be tied or connected to something in the future, perhaps. The Thunderbird powers, the dragon, those type of things, you know.
Well, the dragon we just haven't got to yet. So that's
just, I know.
Like, the Thunderbird I don't like. That dragon, she has some explaining to do, and I've seen some great theories about, like, if she's the same being as some other beings that we know. And I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. I think she's pretty interesting, though. I don't think 3 months was too much. A year would have bothered me. Yeah, I think so, too. Yeah. Hot take. I don't like Danica.
Oh, I don't like her either.
I have some stuff to say on her. We can jump to her. Let's do it. Where did I put her?
For her being dead, she has her own tab color.
Right.
Yeah. Everything rings back to Danica.
Here it is. Okay, but I have something to say. I really dislike Danica by the end of Crescent City 1. Like, she really bothered me. And upon reread, I went through that whole feeling again in the first book. But, I mean, she is the reason that Bryce is able to do what she does. And, like, the light it up always gets me. It always gets me. And I'm feeling good again. And then I go through the whole feeling again in this one. And I do like that Bryce actually calls it out in this one. And she's like, how much more shit is going to come out about what she was doing, that she didn't tell me anything, that she had a mate, that she knows who her father was, that she was working with a rebellion, that she, like, hid the sword from me, that she hid this thing. Like, there is a ridiculously long list. And so she's almost this, like, who the fuck are you? You know, that's how you can feel. However, once it becomes, like, kind of clear through this one that a lot of the stuff we're annoyed with in the first one, like, it really does, like, connect with all of this, because the things that were happening with this rebellion, like, a lot of the things we saw her get, like, framed for in the first book are because of what she was getting so close to. And it wasn't just Micah fucking around with this. It's literally the gods of this planet that were like, those women know too much. We must crush them. And woulda, coulda, shoulda, Danica could have tapped Bryce in. But there's also this thing that it's like anyone who knew was being wiped out. And if Danica had tipped her hand too soon and didn't have enough evidence or anything to do, like, Bryce would have been taken out too. So I don't forgive her for not, like, sharing more. And, like, I swear to God, if in the next one there's like a fucking video message from her, because she's left her all these things, like if there's this like video message being like, so you probably hate me at this point, you know, like what's his name? The computer guru guy will like find like a video message from her or something. That's just what I imagine happening. But she almost like gets to take a lot of the heat so that our characters can just like learn that stuff in a way. And she's the one who's done a lot of the dirty work to get us here. So things about like her mate and her dad, those are almost inexcusable to me. Those ones. But the stuff with the rebellion and with what they were finding out about the hysteria and everything, that stuff I forgive her for, because there's like a death sentence with those. But to not tell about Braxis or Baxon. Yeah, Baxian and her father, like I'm just like, fuck you, Danica. Like I'm literally like, fuck you for not telling your best friend about those things. Anyway, that was my rant. How about y'all?
Danica, the whole story pretty much, well, not the whole story, but a lot of the story relies on Danica. Everything is on Danica's shoulders. All of the secrets that she has. It's like, oh, well, we have this question. Oh, well, Danica had the answer, you know? And it gets to the point in this book, because I was okay with Danica throughout the entirety of the first book. I liked her. I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. She's dead. This lighted up bullshit. I loved it. Mm-hmm. This is the book where I start to get like, how much more shit can this girl have kept secret? And I completely understand the rebel stuff. I probably would not have told my best friend about that either, just to keep them safe. But with the mates thing, I mean, there's a scene where Bryce is talking to Ethan and she's like, it wouldn't have mattered to me. And Ethan like, it would have mattered to me. And she's like, it wouldn't matter to me, you know? And with the Mordock, her father, I can kind of get why she wouldn't want that to be out on blast, because Mordock seems like a trash person. Yeah. Baxian's not bad. I like Baxian in this book, but from what Hunt said, he used to be a real piece of work. Right. But I like him in this book, and just little tidbits like that Danica just kept for no reason that I can see. She probably had a reason, but for no reason that I can see, from this girl who's supposed to be like her sister, you know?
Yeah. What's
and also
title? I forget. Is he?
He's the Hellhound.
Thank you.
And the one scene where Baxian comes and he's talking to Bryce about it, and Bryce asks, you know, did she tell you that she loved you? And he says, yeah. That for her was a huge big deal, because Danica never said she loved anybody except for Bryce. And so now there's this other person who shared that part of her that Bryce didn't even know about. I just think that's shit. I just think that's horrible.
Yep.
But that's my 2 cents on Danica.
Yeah. No, I agree. When I first, because like I said, I watched my vlog. I first was like, well, I mean, I kind of get it, what Danica was doing, but now I'm like, no, you should have just told her. Like, if she was your best friend, and it's not like Bryce has some amazing father either. Like, her father sucks too. So it's not like Bryce would not understand.
Right.
So it was very frustrating this time around.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It just always feels like you're not surprised anymore with each new piece, but it's also like, how much more could you have kept? Did you have a secret child? Like, that's the last. I'll be like, do you have a baby that I didn't know about? It's just so, like, what about Bryce was so untrustworthy to you? That's what I think about some of that stuff. It's like, I mean, I know Bryce was a party girl, but like Danica was her other half, is how she felt to her. And so to find out Danica actually had another half and didn't tell her, that's the one thing where you're just like, what the fuck were you doing? Like, what were you doing that you wouldn't tell him? I don't know. And maybe even if she didn't say who it was, because she was worried about, like, because he's the Hellhound and maybe she wanted him to be secret, like, to not say she'd found someone. That's kind of, it's so weird. But anyway, let's go through a couple of these. Her dad I can forgive because she didn't want to associate. Fair enough. He was evil, asshole. It almost makes you a little worried for Sabine. I'm not. I'm just kidding. I'm like, how did that go? Hey, that got to me. Why didn't you tell Bryce about her meeting your father? Yeah, I know. Well, and here's the thing, Candace. I bet she does have more secrets because apparently that's the way that we share our secrets is with her. She definitely could have told Bryce about her dad and Baxian and the fact that she was a bloodhound. Yes. Yeah. Because she finds out a lot of stuff by being the bloodhound. Like, that's how she knows what Sophie is. That's how she knows about someone else's mate, too. She finds out a lot of stuff because of her scent. She's able to find out. So, Danica was way too sneaky, but I think she had a reason, maybe. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. We can say there's reasons for a lot of it because it was a lot of heavy stuff, the things she was finding out. But the secrets that she kept, they didn't necessarily protect Bryce all the time. Sometimes they put her in more danger. Like, not sharing any of the stuff about Micah. Obviously, that was the whole plot of the first book. Like, we couldn't have had her tell. But, I mean, I guess she put the clue and it just took Bryce so long to figure it out, too. Like, maybe she wasn't expecting it would take almost 2 years to find some of that stuff. I don't know. It reminds me of, I think both of you have read Ruthless Creatures, right? Have you both read Ruthless Creatures?
I think I have.
The fiance leaves the clue. Yes, you have. That's a JT Geisinger series with carnal urges. I have no idea. You didn't read carnal urges?
I don't think I have.
Okay. Wow.
I'm not good with names though, so
JT Geisinger, the sexy mafia daddy. Okay, anyway, moving on. Point being, in Creatures, her fiance disappears, and he leaves a clue for her on the back of a painting that it takes her 5 years to find. Because he expected her to go looking for clues, and it takes her 5 years. Anyway, there's so much stuff Bryce trusted Danica with, but Danica never trusted Bryce with. Yeah, it's true. It is upsetting because it makes, I mean, especially since she's dead now, and we can't that's a lot in the first one where she just couldn't be mad at her because she's dead. And I feel like she's worked through some things now where it's no, I get to be mad about this because you just left me in the lurch. And I mean, granted, you weren't expecting to die, but you also knew there's people coming for you. The things you were doing, there's people coming for you. And it would have been good to know. Sabine is a trigger. Oh my God, Sabine. Fuck Sabine. It seemed that SJM wanted there to be mystery and who did it by Danica and also yes, I mean, true. But it also, each secret that she's had her keep degrades her character more too. So it's if you keep using Danica as the only one who knew everything, well, you've also assassinated her character to that point too. So, okay. I jumped down to that. So let's go into how Bryce is doing. I know this is the most vague thing ever. Bryce is throughout the whole book, but let's talk about how she's changed from book 1 to book 2 and her destiny as it's unfolding. Princess of the Fae. Let's just talk about her. Let's talk about her. Because I really love Bryce. She's one of the people that made me cry a couple times this one. Particularly the stuff he does for Emil. That was one of the points when I cried. When she's sending him to her parents and kind of taking him off the map where, people want to use him. And she's like, no, he's going to my parents. And I definitely cried when Fury picks him up to take him there and is like, Ember and my dad are going to take care of you. And I cried. Although she did have some Selena moments in this one, which is good for her. Good for her because she's always the one on the back foot this time. But she definitely has a couple parts where she keeps the secret from everybody else too.
Yeah. I mean, I love Bryce, but there's some things that she had to know what the problem, when she does the stuff with Juniper, I'm you had to know. That's how people were going to react. So there's still a little bit of naivete with her. But I love Bryce. She might be my favorite heroine.
Wow. with that,
I don't know. I think it's just because it was the first book I read. Like, she's just got a special place in my heart.
Sure.
You know, I mean, her and Nesta and Feyre are my. It's like a.
Yeah.
So, but I love Bryce, but I do sometimes I'm like.
Yeah.
Thought that'll through a little bit more.
Yeah, that's where I think she's not quite like Aelin, because Aelin thinks through all the she's playing chess when she makes these plans. Bryce makes some good decisions that help people, but she doesn't think about the ramifications. Like, she totally should have known what her father was going to do. Her father, who has been either ignoring her or been wanting to use her for power. Yeah. Like, she should have known what would happen with that. And she should have had, like, that's what I secretly wanted him to do all along, because now I'm going to do this thing, you know, but no, it was her being like, damn it, now I have to listen to my daddy. And I was like,
yeah.
You should have had a plan for this. Like, you should have had a plan for this. Like, she should have secretly had married Hunt already before she did that. So then, like, Hunt is technically the man in charge of her and not her dad. Like, she should have done that beforehand. Just saying. They should have secretly done that, and it would have continued the tradition of a secret marriage. Every series has to have a secret marriage. Okay, we know it. We got to have a secret marriage. So that's where that one should have been. Just saying. She should have secretly married Hunt before it.
Yeah, no, I like Bryce, but she is very impulsive. Yeah. She is impulsive, but I think I love that about her character, because she's fiery and she's feisty and she's impulsive. And she's a little bit naive, but I feel like in this book, she's starting to kind of be more comfortable in her place. Like, she's not really digging the whole Fae princess thing, but she is coming more into her own kind of individual. Because I feel like in Crescent City, a lot of it was focused on her grief, having lost Danica and the Pack of Devils, right? And I feel like in this one, she's kind of growing individually and allowing herself to, you know, come into her own a little bit. But she still is very impulsive. I mean, the thing with Juniper, I even think their whole coup at the end was kind of impulsive as well. She tends to fly by the seat of her pants. Yeah, she flies by the seat of her pants. But I think that's part of her charm. That's part of her charm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think some of it too for me is that it's not like she had an easy life or anything, but she has had the most like steady life of all the heroines, right? Like, Aelin always has to be on guard. No one can know who she is. She needs to learn to be an assassin. She went to jail, or, you know, the prison. And like, Feyre has been starving and decided to feed herself. And so she learned to fight, you know, like, she's had it the most like normal upbringing of all of them, you know, so she hasn't to be living this.
I think that's why I like Bryce so much, is because I was very much like Bryce when I was in college and like when I was in my early 20s. Like, I see myself in Bryce more than any other character, which I think is why I like have that, you know, I just relate to her on more of a personal level.
Maybe they married before going to the stronghold. Yes, Stacey. So they can like be connected through time and space. That's what we're gonna say. They secretly got married beforehand, so that they did claim each other though. Like, they are technically, I guess. It just wasn't like in secret. Like, because I think by like claiming themselves, that's the whole point, is like Hunt is a prince now too, and all that fun stuff. So I love that. It's getting late here, so you have to go. Oh, bye, Warda. We will talk about all the good stuff. You have to come back and tell me your theories. I did feel like she didn't fully consider that Hunt has been through and sacrificed from the previous rebellion. Yes, true. We're going to go to him in just a second. I felt like she was a little impulsive, and that worried me for Hunt. Absolutely. Like, Hunt is showing his knowledge and his like experience, and he's like, this isn't gonna go well. Even though he did also frustrate me a little bit, because I'm like, yeah, but do you want to just be a slave forever? Like, you're technically not a slave now. I mean, at the beginning of this anyway, but you're still living like one. Like him even like getting the job with them still. I was like, dude, I wouldn't at all. Like, no, like find a different job.
Separate yourself completely. I would have been gone. I would not have come back.
Like he's definitely that like lifelong soldier. I mean, I have friends like it who aren't going to leave the army till they can't stop walking. Like they're going to be one forever because they don't know how to do anything else. He doesn't know how to do anything else to fight, but at the same time, he's like frightened of the ramifications of a fight, even though he knows it's right.
Well, it's like, I mean, when Celestina, or however you say her name, when she made him stay for 2 weeks, she was like, no, you have to stay here, like and it's like, but he's not a slave. He's free. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Like,
but it wasn't a slavery. It was a job thing. Like he is still getting like paid.
He could just walk out of there and say, peace out, B.
Yeah.
I know. I'm a free
Then he'd have to quit.
I'm not.
I don't think he's ready.
No, I know. But
that's my point. Like he's not ready to quit. And it shows like, no, that pisses me off too. Because I'm like, Celestina, what are you doing? Like I was also annoyed with her. Because like she was so understanding about him having a relationship. And then all of a sudden she's like, no, you can't leave. So I was very worried about her. And I mean, I want to know if she actually does the betrayal. Like, this is what I'm wondering, too, about Celestina, is if she actually does betray them in the end, or if there's more to it than that. Like, did her husband person, like, her mate, like, force her to share something? Because I feel like, I mean, granted, she doesn't know that her girlfriend is with the rebellion. Like, she doesn't know that, right? But I don't know. We don't see her do it. We hear that she tells on them. I just wonder in the next book if she actually told on him or if she was forced to do it somehow. Or like if her, the man she's being forced to make a baby with found out. Like, I don't know.
Maybe he was starting to get a little bit suspicious. Maybe they were starting to get a little bit like Celestina is kind of like not on the same page with us, and maybe to protect Hypaxia, however you say her name.
Yep.
And their whole, dynamic that they've been going through. Maybe to protect her, that she kind of shifted the blame and shifted the view somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I just wonder, because we find out about all that in the heat of the battle, and it's, I'm sure we're going to be seeing the ramifications to Hunt and the guys who are left there. And I wonder if that'll be like, if Celestine will be like, I didn't have a choice. And then it's like, well, you betrayed Hypaxia anyway. So good job. If it'll be that kind of a thing. And if Hypaxia will like break up with her or something like that from this, So anyway, well, we're going to like keep going through, even though I'm sure Hunt will show up. I love him. He's great. He's the overly honorable character that shows up in like all of hers. He's the most like, I don't know. He's just the good grumpy dude. I don't know another way to say it. Like, I love Hunt. He's great. Do you think his memory will be wiped? Oh my God, Bradley! I don't even want to think about it. Definitely, they could. Oh my God!
I'm going straight for the throat, Braylee.
That definitely could be a thing. Oh fuck! I don't want to think about that.
I was thinking that when
with the last line being like, and then Hunt knew nothing at all. It could be that he passed out. It could be that he's dead. It could be that he is no more. Like his personhood is taken away.
Yeah.
Who knows?
God. Wow. Didn't want to think about that. Also, I think Hunt and Cassian and Azrael will be bros, no doubt. Like they're just gonna be like start their own like wolf pack or something. Those dudes are totally bros. Also, I think him and Azrael would be very matched in a fight. I think if they sparred together, it would be very interesting with like the shadows versus the lightning. How cool, y'all! How cool, y'all! Just saying. you know, in some possible future where the inhabitants of hell might be going to Crescent City to try to help everybody. What if Hunt as a slave is forced to fight Azrael? Just saying. Just gonna drop that bomb.
That would be really, really cool.
Because how cool would the lightning versus the shadows be? I'm just saying. Also, who else has shadow powers? Someone else has shadow powers. Is that Cormac?
Powers. Cormac has shadow powers. Rune has shadow powers.
People got shadow powers around here.
Yeah. Also, let's talk. Well, let me just save it. Let me save it. I'll save it. Because I'll save that to talk about in the Rune section.
Okay, we have to talk about this. I skipped this earlier because I didn't mean to skip it, as in I was ignoring it. So for me, the theories about Bryson Hunt, Brunt and Heiss, I guess, are the names of go.
Yeah.
The theories of Brunt not being Endgame, for me, those were more before we read the second book. I don't know. Once I read this one and it's confirmed that they're mates. They're not just like, we're going to call each other mates because instead of husband and wife, like we're mates. Like they are fae mates. They're fae mates. That is what I took out of it. If anyone has anything else to say, you can say it. And I think they've accepted each other too. Like I think they're kind of like bound. That's what I took out of this book. That they're bound together. They've accepted each other. And them having like when they had sex, and I mean they've definitely fed each other. He's definitely bought her takeout before. Like,
yeah.
So for me, I heard people theorizing beforehand because there was lots of people being like, in every series they don't end up with the first person. Well, the first person we see her with is the guy who dies. Technically, like that's what she likes. So we'll say he's the one who died, and then the lion shifter in the bathroom or whatever. Like.
Yeah.
I don't think I fully believe that they're endgame. I mean, she could completely destroy our lives and change our minds for that. But that theory seems ridiculous to me.
Well, like the fact that her scent changed when she became mated to him.
We totally got to talk about all the signs there are. Like that to me was confirming what we've seen in ACOTAR and all the references to it. Let's be real. They reference old fae mates and how it was a thing. And then we see these hints of like when they've had sex and that's changed about them. They like feel this bond together. It isn't just us deciding to be mates. Like they're mates. So Candace, I am happy to help you feel better. But
the fact that Hunt goes absolutely feral when anything happens to Bryce.
Right. We start earlier on, like when they're at the thing and someone threatens her and his lightning is literally all around her. Who does that sound like? You know, that's like when Reese's shadow is curving around like Feyre and stuff. Like that's what's happening.
Rage Daddy Hunt.
People just want to reach for the most wild theory there is, which I completely understand. Like I have no problems, but I don't think the biggest theories we got going on are who's going to be whose mate. Like, I think we're locked in with that anyway. For some of the other people, I don't know. We'll see what they're. Yeah, it said they're shoulder bound. Agreed. Okay, cool. Let's keep popping through some people. We can get back to that. Let's talk about Ethan because he isn't who I expected originally. Like, we'd get more POV in this. I didn't know that we'd get more of him before this, and let's talk about where he's at, like in the beginning, because I have his interesting stuff he comes upon is the next ones. But what do we think of him in the beginning of this? I really love that he was literally a sad puppy.
Yeah,
and that they take him in. Literally, Bryce like takes him in after he got the shit beat out of him. I like that Hunt gives him a bit of hell and he's like, you literally abandoned her. Like you were a pack, blah, blah, blah. Those 2 years, you just completely left her. And I agree because I thought Ethan was an asshole in the first one, obviously until the end when they go in and fight for her about it. Anyway, what do we think about Ethan?
I was hesitant about Ethan when he showed up on like all beat up and everything. I was hesitant about him at first because I was like, you know, because you never know because of his interactions with her with Bryce in the first book. But I love Ethan. I absolutely love Ethan, and I think that him kind of moving in with Rune and the guys, and they're just having like this little boys group.
Frat
I just
house. I
love
love the
them.
frat
Oh gosh, yeah, the frat house. I love him, and he has got such a he's got a very, I don't know. He's really focused on justice and what's right and what's wrong, but I think he went about it in the wrong way in the first book
Mm-hmm.
throughout the majority of it until the end because he just didn't have as much information.
Yeah.
But I love him. I love him so much.
And we find out he liked her.
Oh yeah.
Which I had suspicions in the first one that he did, and that was kind of why he like turned on her so much, is because he's like, I loved you and my brother's dead and like blah blah blah. So it makes sense once we find out he had this like candle that he was holding for her. So
Yeah. No, I liked him more as it went on. Like at first I was just kind of like, I was skeptical because of everything that had happened. But then like as we get, and like his whole, like his storyline was a lot more interesting than someone else's storyline. Just put it that way.
yeah. Yeah.
Like
no, and we can go into it. Let's talk about the sprites and the dragon. Let's talk about what we found. Let's like set this up too. They go to this mystic because they want to find out if they can contact the pack of devils.
Yeah.
And Danica, if they can talk to it. And there's this mystic, and it's literally like you can go in and you can pay, and these beings in the tank, they will literally go down to hell or whatever, wherever. I guess it's not just hell. They'll like go to the different places and talk to the beings there. And
before you go on, did anyone else see the mystic as the guy in Nightmare Before Christmas, the guy that Bill makes Jane? Like, was that their image of him? The astronomer.
That makes what?
That little dude.
The astronomer. That makes Jane. Not Jane. Sally. Why couldn't I think of her name?
Oh,
like Sally.
Sally.
Yeah.
Oh, you meant
I can totally
Nightmare
see
Before Christmas. Oh,
yes. In Nightmare Before Christmas. That astronomer, that was who I saw. Was that guy.
I was thinking like a Dumbledore type dude. Like this craggy old man. But I can totally see it, yeah.
Sorry, Jen. Going off the rail here.
That totally works. I wasn't sure at first. Okay, we're talking about that still. The Mystic gave me minority prize. I love it. I love it. I mean, I don't know, Candace. I feel like it was relevant to us, the readers. I don't know how relevant it will be to anyone else. So, I mean, if it comes out, I don't see how it would cause any problems coming out. I don't think Bryce needs to know. I think we as the readers needed to know that he had feelings. That's just my opinion. I think we were told about it so that we had more context for why he acted the way that he did. That's what I took from it. But anyway, let's continue with this. So anyway, so they go to this the first time, and we try to contact, and we end up getting in contact with one of the princes of hell, right? Tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't have this written down. But which is just so interesting to me, because to me, I feel like this isn't like going to hell, but it's like them going through one of like the gateways. Like I feel like that place is a gateway, and you're like going through it, but not really going through it because they're being like held here. I don't know. It's almost like a window to the gateway. Instead of where at the end we see Bryce like actually go through one and travel somewhere, they're just kind of living in between the worlds there. I don't know. I don't fully know what's going on with that. But anyway, there's these beings that are basically kept drugged and submerged in here who are able to make the contact. And it's pretty gruesome. It's pretty gruesome. Things don't go so well with this visit because they're like, we don't want to tell you the info that you're looking for. In fact, we're coming after you. It ends badly. And that happens like earlier in the book. When we find out about the sprite and the dragon, it's when Ethan tries to go back, and he ends up rescuing these people that are being kept in this like box, right? They're like in a box, and like the dragon is like shrunk down in this little, she's like in something, right?
They're
What
in a
is
ring.
SJM's thing about
Yes, they're
putting
in
people in rings? Why
Yes.
is everybody in a ring? I
I know.
love it because it's creepy as hell, but
And he also speaks to, when he goes and gets them, he also speaks to one of the one of the beings. And he can tell that she's a wolf, but she
an
won't
alpha wolf.
tells us she's an alpha wolf at the time. And she like won't come with, but he takes the ring and the sprites and he brings them back. And then the ring gets broke open and there's this dragon inside who is this saucy girl. I could not find her name again when I tried to write it down. So what's her name? Thank you. I knew it was a weird name or makes me think of Greek mythology. So I was like, what's her name? And then there were the little fire sprites who, this was another part where I cried. Okay, I cried at this part. Oh my God. And I have in one of my theories, which I'll just mention it now, because they tell Bryce she needs to speak with the queen of the fire sprites to tell them about Lahava. And I have a theory that we definitely will do that in book 3 because we have to finish that out for Lahava. She has to know, and like I will probably cry then too, for sure.
Yeah.
But
Oh my God.
3 little sprites basically become our friends who've moved into the frat house.
Went around.
The sprites and the dragon.
Yeah.
Moving in.
I just love it. I saw it as an extreme astral projection. Nice. Yeah. Very much like an astral projection, literally like to the other realms, kind of. I could see that. But yeah, so let's talk like what are some of our theories about this dragon? Because we don't know like where she came from really. And there are lots of theories that like I've seen many of them. People think that she's the same kind of being as someone else we know, which I think is interesting. So what do we think about the dragon?
I'm interested to see what she's going to do with the dragon. Is she a dragon because of dragon fire, or is she a dragon because she has like a shifting ability? I don't think we've seen her actually shift into a dragon, have we? Not yet. But they did say that dragon fire is one of the only things that can pretty much roast a demon just off the bat. So I think that's going to have something to do in the next book. Plus, she's with the Viper Queen
Flame
now.
and Shadow. Flame and Shadow. Yeah.
Plus, she's with the Viper Queen now, and the Viper Queen has she has her hands in every single basket in that place. I love the Viper Queen. But yeah, no, I think her fire is going to be a big part of it. I think who she is and where she came from, how she got, because they said that she was a gift to the astronomer from the Asteri. So the Asteri probably captured her somewhere and kept her as, you know, a trinket, either that or she had done something and that was her punishment, maybe. Maybe she's a bad bitch. I don't know, but I'm very fascinated by her.
Some stuff. She definitely knows some things. Because, and we'll get to it, I wrote it down of like the different places the Asteri have conquered and been, and they have some notes about the creatures there and different things. So it's like, where did they take her from? Could we make a deal with her to take her back to her real world and she'll like help us? Like, what will we do? Do we think she's cursed? I mean, I don't know, Care. I want to know. We haven't really got to talk to her too much. She's pretty prickly. And then she ran away to the Viper Queen where because that's the thing I wonder if she'll be someone who we get like a POV of, or if we'll just get her through Therian. Like, I don't know, but is she the level of a character that like we'll get that, or will we just see her from the outside? But I feel like there's a big reason why she would go to the Viper Queen when she had a place like, I think she knew there was some big people chasing her and she needed someone very powerful that she's willing to sell herself to, because the Viper Queen's a better option, which is just very interesting. Because with Therian, like we know, like he was already basically a slave to his queen. So trading himself to the Viper Queen, where at least he'll have like some freedom or a chance to get freedom by like earning it. Whereas like the dragon, like she was free, like they freed her and she chose to go into servitude. So it's very interesting. My off-the-wall theory is she's from a planet we haven't seen, but other monsters like her have entered the world, like Amber. Yes, maybe she's the jumping point into a new series on the world. Wow. Big thinking, Stacey. I like it. So, love
She
stuff.
was picked up for 4 more books.
Yeah, she was.
She was? When did that announcement happen? Oh my God.
It's on the Bloomsbury website.
Okay. I mean, I
think she's set right now for 7 books.
Okay.
I think that's the grand total is 7 more books.
But the series is like combined now too. I think she's like they won't all necessarily be Crescent City.
No.
She's just 7 more books with them. Like there's gonna be more that are ACOTAR books.
Yeah, we hope so.
Well, I mean, we don't know what but she said that in the interview with SJM. When she was like, they have me for a trilogy, but I have plans for like she said which book she has planned for. So they picked her up for 4 books. They're like, we buy your next 4 books, and she's like, I'll write you what the fuck I want. So
pretty much, yeah.
Because I did think it was interesting when she announced that like we skipped to House of Flame and Shadow when she's hinted that there would be a book for every house. But I mean, I understand why Flame and Shadow would be next based on what happens in this book. It's clear that like we need to be spending time in Flame and Shadow. Like that's a thing. But I don't know. I'm interested. I'm interested whether Crescent City 3 will be the roundup of like that series. And then like there's more books in ACOTAR, but also maybe there is another like I have no idea. But I still remember from one interview where she's like, well, there's 4 houses. Like, that's all that she said. She's like, there's 4 houses. I have 3 books picked up, but there are 4 houses. Like, that's what she said. So, but then she skipped to House of Flame and Shadow, which, I mean, she doesn't have to go in order. But I just thought it was interesting that that's the order that they are in here.
Yeah.
They could also just move that around in the next book. Move it around. So. Anyway, where was I going with this? Anyway, yes, the dragging is very interesting.
Dragging.
Okay, let's talk about. Should we do there? Let's do Rune first. Let's talk about him because there's a lot to talk about him. He leads us some places here.
Rune made me cry.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet baby.
Yeah, Rune has. I love him so much in this book. I really do. He's just such a good dude. Like there's no like that he can come from such a nasty father and be such a good dude and just like so welcoming to other people. How much he loves his sister. Like there's such a great brother-sister relationship in this one. And the fact that Bryce is like open to that now. And like his brotherhood with Hunt. So like they literally are bros now, and I love it so much because like I love bros. And yeah, in his frat house that just keeps taking people in and bringing people up. And I mean, okay, so let's get into what he gets drawn into. So he gets drawn into helping with the rebellion because of Cormac. Right?
Well, because of his mind control, his mind powers, his mind speaking that he can do.
Yes. And Cormac is like, I'll keep this a secret if you're willing to help with this. Because he really gets into it to like it. I think it's before we fully know like what Cormac is on about. Well, I mean, no, we do know because he asked him with Agent Day, but he's still holding some stuff over them. And so he's like, I'll let them. Is it something to do with Bryson Hunt? Does he say like I'll let them do that? I can't remember. Either way, Rune agrees to be the contact with Agent Daybright, or it is Daybright, right?
Yeah.
And so he starts having contact with Agent Day. And okay, I don't even know where to go from this because I want to stay on Rune, but we also got to talk about it. Vibes that Lydia's his mate. Yeah. So here's the thing too, though, for me. Because obviously, like in book 1, like I didn't know Hypaxia was gonna have a girlfriend, and I really wanted him to be with Hypaxia. So the first time I read this, I was really bummed that Hypaxia had a girlfriend. Which I mean, I'm great having. Well, actually, maybe not, because maybe Celestina is a backstabber, so I don't know. But I really I really liked Hypaxia, and I mean, I still can like her, but I liked her for Ruin because I was like, oh, she's so cool. And I liked the idea of the witch queen with the autumn prince, you know, I just really was into this vibe. And so this Agent Day, I was just like, and I mean, we're supposed to think that it's Celestina. Like, she totally leads us down that track, particularly with the, like, someone asking her for sex that she, like, doesn't want it to be. And, like, we don't know that the Hind isn't enjoying herself with her partner. She definitely plays like she's enjoying herself with her partner. And Celestina, we, you know, find out at a certain point in the book that she, you know, wants to be with a woman and instead being forced to have a baby for what the Asteria are, like, telling her to do. And so we're supposed to, like, think that it's her, you know, and we like Celestina for the most part. Like, we don't have reasons to really not like her. And so for it to be Lydia is just, my mind is so bent by that. Like, honestly, that was such a good reveal. Like, it's such a good reveal. And it immediately
I will say
upon Lydia. Go ahead. Sorry.
Upon reread, I saw it coming. Like, I mean, obviously, but I saw, like, the little bits. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see what she was doing here. Where she was, like, she was kind of making it obvious without.
Yeah, you can see her call for help. Yeah. Like, this time around, her throwing, like, it's very obvious that the thing she's throwing down, and then the rescue shows up. It's very obvious, and that she doesn't tell on them. Like, she very obviously knows what they're doing and doesn't tell on them. So it's definitely obvious the second time around, but the first time, like, you just can't believe that any of them would be good at all, you know?
Mm-hmm. Plus, also, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go.
When he goes,
the story. Oh, say it now.
Okay, Joe, I'm picking. Joe, go ahead. Sorry.
The story that she tells about to Rune about the witch in the wood and the man that hunted her, and she ended up being shot down and turned into this beast until the man came, saw her, and didn't see a beast and saw, you know, something beautiful, and it turned her back into a witch again. Number one, I was thinking Throne of Glass witches, but number two, you can also see where she's like, I've been turned into this monster, and you see me for who I really am, and you allow me to be the beautiful, you know, person again. But yeah, anyway, I like her, but I don't know what's gonna happen.
I'm nervous
too. I like Agent Day. Lydia, I don't know. I mean, because you could play it either way.
I am into it so hard, and I'll tell you why. This is like the second person who's a part of it. Is it called is that what all the H's are? Is there the Triari? Are they the Triari? That's Ephraim's Triari.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. Triari in the audiobook, but, like, that's what those are called, right? Like the Hind and Scorpion. Okay. Just want to make sure. There's 2 out of the Triari who, like, have changed now.
Yeah.
And I like that idea that, like, they don't know about each other, but that can be something we reveal in the next book. Like, we can let the Hellhound and the Hind know that they're, like, both kind of doing this, you know? And I like that there are multiple of them who are turning against this, and they see that this isn't good. And it's because of people they're, like, falling for, which, granted, like, Lydia kind of had some reasons before then, I assume, but for Baxian, whatever, we know, Baxian, whatever, that, you know, he fell in love and found his mate, and that's why he was changing. And for Lydia, she just has bigger, imagine the things they've seen, you know, like, they've participated in the torture and they've done these horrible things, and they've, you know, they're changing. So, I mean, yeah, we need to see more of Lydia and to see, like, her reasons for it. But I think, you know, when she's Agent Day and she's masked, like, we do see a lot of those things. So just because now we know, like, who it is, like, I don't think that takes away all the stuff we learn about Agent Day that makes us love her. I think it proves, like, what Lydia is willing to do, that she's continually with this person who she doesn't want to be with them anymore. And she's sacrificing who she is. And the only time she gets to be who she wants to be is when she's with Ruin in this in-between world, you know? So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I definitely want more of it, to know more about it. But when the reveal happened, I was like, wow. Like, I don't know. I thought it was cool. And in the reread, yeah, I definitely, of course, was watching her like a hawk. I was watching her like a hawk. And she plays a really tricky game. So it's very interesting. I was shocked by it. Yeah. Yep. I wanted it to be Hypaxia too. I trust her to convince me. Yeah, me too. It's really going to happen. I mean, let's be real. Did she give herself away in the final thing? Because she does something to help them, right? She said she wouldn't help them, and then she does.
She kills the harpy.
Okay,
she kills the harpy,
Yeah.
and then she's like, and then Rune says day, and she says night, and that's when, because he smells her scent, and it's day's scent. Yeah, no, she kills the harpy. Bad bitch.
But she blames it on them because then the guy comes in. Who comes in?
Pollock.
She tells Brett, make it look obvious.
Right.
Or make it, make it believable
or something. They like attack her. But she takes out the harpy, and then she's like, make it look real. We gotta love the moment like that. It's good stuff. But yeah, so she helps them, but nobody else knows yet. That's what I was trying to remember, is if she had given herself away at all. And so she didn't. She helped them, but she doesn't give herself away yet. So that being said, we have someone on the inside still, because, well, and we also have,
because the Hellhound gave him.
Yes, he gave himself up. This is where it gets confusing for me, because they have 2 names. Everybody has 2 or 3 fucking names. Like, not only is there Elena and Selena, but now we have like the Hind, Agent Day, and Lydia are all the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Too much of it. So he gave himself away, but she's still on the inside. So that's good. Because we will probably need her. We will probably need Agent Day's help to get out of this. I had no idea. I didn't even think it would be Celestina. Oh, that's great. I mean, I didn't think it was Celestina, like, right until she meant us to think it was Celestina. But then when she's coming out of the room with Hypaxia, I was like, well, it's not Celestina, because she wouldn't be into ruin if she has her partner. So then I was like, I have no idea. Like, I didn't think it was the Hind until like a minute before we figured it out. So I had no idea. Sarah got me. She got me. To jump on the Triari initially, I really wanted Pollux killed. Yeah. Hopefully we'll take him out in a later book.
Really.
We couldn't take them all out at once. It's nice that she gave us a big group of people to hate, so we have lots of people to pick.
Lots of people to wish dead.
If the group got smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay, what else? Okay, now let's go to Therian for a little bit. So, I forgot how big a part he played in this one until I think Joe reminded me. She's like, "Oh, do you say you really like Therian? Do you really like
I
him?"
love Therian. Yeah.
So, because I forgot when I was reading the first one, I was like, isn't the Mur guy kind of important in the next one? And then this one started, I was like, oh, that's right. We get a whole POV from him. I forgot. He's a bit of a self-serving jerk, though. Even though
absolutely. I just
the whole time.
I feel bad for him, but I'm also like, you're kind of a dick, dude.
Yeah.
But I really, really like his character, and I think he's very interesting. He's self-serving. He's kind of a liar. He has this whole situation with the River Queen's daughter, which I think is just kind of shitty all around. And where he ends up, I mean, he's now with the Viper Queen. He's going to become addicted to her venom. I mean, he's pretty much thrown himself into the deep end at this point.
Yeah.
But I love him. I think he's a great addition to the little cabal that they all have. I mean, him and Bryce, the whole like, hey legs, what's up, hotcakes? And she's like, nothing much, sweet sugar. I love their whole banter back and forth. I just enjoy him. He's a fun character to read about, but he's also kind of shitty in his own way. But I think they're all kind of shitty in their own way. Like, they all have little quirks that are like, oh.
She definitely didn't make as many like pure characters.
Oh
in
yeah.
this one. I mean, granted, it's not like there's a ton, but like there are a few in other ones are very much like always doing good, you know? Yeah. Honestly, I think Ruin is or not Ruin. I love Ruin. I think Hunt is the closest to always being good.
Yeah.
I think he is very much led by what's good all the time. Until like Bryce, where he's just like, oh, he broke my heart at the end. Call of the Mayor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say the first time through, like his race to make it to the Viper Queen, like my heart is just pounding so hard because the River Queen is just, I don't know. I don't want to call her pure evil. I don't think that she's pure evil, but
she's manipulative and she's
so
kind of nasty.
So manipulative.
And she's paranoid, honestly.
Yeah.
She's paranoid. She's so paranoid that she has this whole river, this whole group of people that she manipulates to keep her queendom, you know? But I completely agree with Stacy. I wanted him to call the Ocean Queen and say, "Hey, Ocean Queen," you know, because the people in the little submersible were like, "If you ever need anything, call us." I was like, pick up the otter and call the Ocean Queen and ask her for help, you know?
Yeah. I feel like he just didn't want to be involved in the Mayor at all. That's why I think he didn't. I think he's like, I want to do it on my own. And I know that I can sell myself to her and like, then it's on me, you know, and maybe he still will need them later on because we definitely haven't seen the last of them because they seem like they're good people. So like, we're going to need all of our allies when we get there. But okay, we're at like 90 minutes in. I think it's time to take a quick break. Just to give ourselves a potty break here. And then we're actually going to get more like into the theories and stuff because we've honestly touched on like most of the like individuals that I needed to. And we're going to like dive into like the last chunk of the book to really dive into it because I don't want us to be too tired to go over it. So I'm going to give us a little like 10-minute break here just to do what we got to do. And we'll come back at 7:47. So we'll see y'all in a little bit. Okay. I realized I put the wrong time on there, and I was like, oopsie. We're not going to wait that long. Okay, so this is so hard to like break it all down. I have my like book in front of me because I have just so many theories about the Asteri, and like if they are completely something different that has just been fucking with all these different worlds, or who they are in other worlds. Because with this book, we like fully put aside that like, oh, maybe stuff is connected. Like it definitely is. And not just because we were seeing throughout this whole book these different hints of like, it's very clearly some night court traits and some autumn court traits and like these things that we were seeing. And there's even a line saying that Fae like kind of lost their ability to change between the two. Some of them lost that power, but it was a power that they had. And how like the mates, it says that's an old Fae thing that they were able to do. We also know that you know, like Bryce had like learned the language because she learned all these languages, you know, different things. So there's all these things where it's like we definitely knew like they were connected, and that, you know, maybe this was a very, very future time. But with this, with her going through the gateway and landing in hell and us seeing people that we know, we knew that now like they really are these like parallel worlds. And this was what was really cool doing this reread with everyone, because we really talk about that when Aelin is like going past the worlds to like get back to Rowan and everyone, because, you know, that's where we like saw the different worlds we were like passing by, right? But when we get into these archives and we see everything they have written down of the different places they've tried, and in some ways, like I kind of wonder, like that's some serious balls where you really think you have control of everything, that you literally write down your crimes that you've committed because you think you will hold so much power, but you've actually written it down. Or you think that the people you're controlling are so insignificant that they won't be able to get a hold of this information. So yeah, we see some of the other places they've been. Hold on, let me look at this map real quick. Thousands of years ago, where it was literally called AE. Like the time that we know we're in is VE, because that is at the beginning of the book. It says that the world, or the categories of like people were decided upon in 33 VE. But in like AE, and I don't know if that like, does it tell us what AE means at some point? Is it like the Asteri era or something? I don't know what it means.
I have no idea.
But we know they've like conquered a place called Renthar. Hold on, I actually do have a banner for this. Not that it like matters, but conquered places that they've conquered. There's one called Renthar in 14,000. There was a place called it says Renthar, and it was a bellicose aquatic people, primordial land life, little supply, and they terminated them after only 7 years. They literally used up all the power that was there in 7 years, which of course the power we find out is their magic, their souls, their magical souls, basically. So maybe they were people of like little magic, is what I assume like that means by it. And then there's Aphraxia, where it says the denizens learned of us too quickly, and we lost many to their unified front. So they conquered them in 680, but then they lost it. So they were kicked out of a place. We know they can be kicked out of some place after only about 40 years. So they got wise to them. And then there is, it says Midgard, which is us, right? Midgard is us.
Yeah.
That was conquered in 1703. And it was 15,000 years that they've been there. So that's kind of bonkers, because it's like they've found obviously like the perfect fix, the way that they have the people doing what they want, and they're getting fed enough. But I also think there's something to be said for that. The people being born aren't as powerful anymore. I think it's said it's mentioned in passing in an earlier book that people's magic isn't doing what it used to do. And that's kind of where they mention like people aren't able to shift the way they used to, like things are being less and less powerful. And I think it's probably because the magic is being bred out of people because they're siphoning off too much. But they've been making it work for 15,000 years that they've conquered them, which is kind of, I mean, you can kind of look at it as like how much power was there if they're able to be fed for 15,000 years.
Yeah.
Or they came up with a more sophisticated lie this time. Like maybe they're pacing themselves differently than they had before because they have it where the beings are literally feeding themselves to them. They've been able to spin a lie where they literally like pay tithe to them with their magic without them having to trick into it, you know? I don't know. Anyway. Just rambling about some stuff now. So with humans, do they get second light or is it nothing? I don't know. That's crazy. Despite all the connections and discussions, I didn't think we would fully travel. I know, right? I know. That's why it breaks your brain. That's why it breaks your brain. Like even in the midst of us like reading this stuff here, I was thinking that we were going to learn like the history of the other place, you know, like we were going to learn about how we connect to them, not that we could go to them, you know? So, okay. So then we get to the mention of hell, which is where they lost right before they came here, right? So 1703 is when they take Midgard. They lost hell in 1701. That's very interesting. And what it says here about this, I'll just read all of this because this is what we really got to break down. We got to rip this apart. So it says, a dark, cold world with mighty creatures of night. They saw through our lures, once warring factions, the royal armies of hell united and marched against us. Maybe like 7 fake kings all fighting together, maybe, I don't know, or high lords done that. Hell united and marched against us. We were overwhelmed and abandoned their world, but they gave chase. Learned from our captured lieutenants how to slip between the cracks in realms. Captured as in maybe put in a mountain prison and tortured for information? I don't know. Maybe. They found us on Midgard in 1702 and tried to convince our lured prey of what we were, and some fell to their charms. We lost a third of our meals to them. War lasted nearly to the end of 1703. So that's when it said they conquered. So they actually landed on Midgard like immediately. They went there, but they hadn't conquered it yet. And so that's kind of what I'm taking from this. They were defeated and sent back to hell. Far too dangerous to allow them access to this world again, though they might try. They developed attachments to the Midgard colonists. So I assume they cared about them, maybe even bred with them, and some of their powers are passing with them. I don't know. This isn't just me throwing out my theories as I reread this, because it said formed attachments with them. Maybe that's why there are autumn court, night court, you know, things being seen in the people here. Could be. And then it said they rose up and we left them in cinders. Fire, first light, tasted off, terminated world. Denizens launched bombs at us and left planet and inhabitants too full of radiation to be viable food. We left to rot in their waste. First light too weak, terminated world. Okay, this is talking about other places. Sorry. The planets that weren't as lucky as hell. So them just like leaving people. So I skipped a part here. So it said, it had to be there, the Asteri's homeworld. She'd find it and tell the princes of hell about it. And once they were done beating those assholes into dust here on Midgard, they'd go to that homeworld and blow it the fuck up. So want to find really where it was. So here we go. Keep putting it. Amryn also says 15K or so was when she thinks Prithian and Midgard have the same timeline as far as how time passes. Yes. Love that. I love that. Okay. So that's what we find out before she gets caught. So that was a lot. How's everybody feeling about that? I don't know what to say. It's amazing. I've kind of shared my theories as I was reading it. It sounds like that the people from hell, which I would call them like, you know, whoever the leaders of the places were, that's like who became high lords. Like, that's how I see it. Like, they became high lords to chase after them. And when, you know, some of the people there formed attachments, maybe they had mates there, but then they were forced out, which would have left some of the, you know, traces behind of the certain way they act and some of the powers and like the mating bonds that can show up, and, you know, the winnowing. Oh, we didn't even mention that when we talked about Cormac, but the fact that he calls it like teleporting, like, what does he call it? Does he call it teleporting? And it's obviously winnowing, because he's like, it's like you fold space together and between them. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
who said that before?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
Well, okay. Things
Go
that
ahead,
really
Melissa.
stood out to me. Did anyone notice that it was called Project Dusk or something Dusk? Which
We don't have a dusk court.
What's the only court that there isn't?
Dusk.
In also when Regulus, or however the hell you say it, right?
Yep.
He says Danica realized that shifters are fae. Bryce blinked. What? Not your kind of fae, of course. Your breed dwelled in a lovely, verdant land rich with magic. If it's any interest to you, your starborn bloodline specifically hailed from a small isle a few miles from the mainland. And while the mainland had all manner of climes, the isle existed in beautiful, near-permanent twilight. But only a select few in the entirety of your world could shift from their humanoid forms to animal ones.
Yeah.
Who does that sound like?
Spring Court.
The Midgard shifters were fae from a different planet. All the fae in that world shared their form with an animal. Just like in Throne of Glass.
Throne of Glass, yeah.
Yep. It's pretty cool.
And then also, well, we'll get to these characters in a minute. So I'll point something out then after.
Yeah. Thoughts on the theory that Azrael's knife is lost when played? Oh, I mean,
absolutely.
I don't think that it's anything that needs thoughts. I think it's facts. You know,
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why the whole way through this series, I said everybody watch the weapons, because when I again, my whole purpose for the readathon was reading this book and like seeing the sword and then being like, "Whoa, what is this?" is like why they really like they don't attack her right away. They're like, "How do you have this?" You know, they want to question her. And I
the
think
fact that the sword sung to like it, like was like she said it was like humming when it was next to the knife.
Yep. So fascinating. Like, there's just so much. There's so much. Where were you gonna go next? Because I don't have any more character cards like laid out, so you can just like I have like Princes of Hell, right? Like, so you can just, where do you want us to go? Let's just go for it.
So remember in House of Earth and Blood discussion, I said that I was interested at how Fury and Amren might be connected.
Yes.
Well, the petite, dark-haired female with angular eyes like Fury's drew up short. Her red painted mouth dropped open. No doubt the blood all over Bryce no doubt at the blood all over Bryce's face and body. She's talking about Amren in that part.
Yeah.
So Amren and Fury are somehow, there's something there.
Well, and also we can say too, who else is recognizable?
Rune and Rhysand. That's what I was going to bring up earlier. Rune and Rhysand. She thinks it's Rune.
She looks at it and is like, Rune?
Yeah.
Which is also why I laughed about the silent R's, because they exist everywhere. Well, and he makes the most sense too, because it's very clear that they're still fae. Like, literally whatever remnants are still left, like he might be of the Autumn Court, but there aren't any other like fae courts that are named. So the Autumn Court could be like all the fae like people that are like the court, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're just under one king now, really, for the most part. I know there's more, but for the most part, because doesn't it tell us how many there are? Because I don't know, it's just really interesting to me, because there's like the witches, which, you know, who's that from? There's a couple Fae courts. There's also now like all the aquatic area with all like the leaders of those areas. So, I mean, I think we said this in the last one when we listed, because there was like 7 heads of houses basically, or something like that, like the different queens and kings. Now it was just spread out differently. So yeah, how she thought they were the same. Yeah. So, and I mean, and here's the thing too, it wouldn't even be like necessarily that many generations, because like Reese is pretty old. His like family's pretty, like it might even be only a couple generations away. We don't even know, like we'll have to find this out, you know, like because Faye can live so long. It might not even be as, like, I know people don't remember, but that could be like a spell that was done or something, you know, because there's things that Amryn can't remember, you know, that happens in some of the books where like, what is it about the weapons? Like she can't remember the weapons, but Nesta can, because like she can make
the dread trove. She can't remember.
Yes.
She can remember the items, but like she can't remember anything about them.
Yes. Yeah.
Like she even says like there's like a block. Like it like shuts down.
Yes. And so that definitely could be a spell that was done on the people who were still left, because it said that they like had to beat them back. So maybe they wipe their mind and send them back, which would be why they don't remember the people they formed attachments with, because they were forced to leave. But maybe they left, you know, they left some babies behind, but they were forced to leave or whatever. So that could be very, very interesting, you know. So theory that SJM has never revealed Reese's last name for a reason. True.
Dannon. It could be.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. But I don't know. I don't know about Reese's last name, because
not
also,
all things have last names.
Like, no, not all of them have last names.
Not everyone has last names.
I was going to talk about like Tamlin. You don't really know Tamlin's last name, or I can't remember Tamlin's last name. You know,
no, they don't usually have it. That's in like Throne of Glass. People have last names, and actually, there's a reason for it too. Because the reason why, this doesn't have to do with why Sarah J. Maas does it, but the reason why we even have last names is because travel became easier. When people were like in a way back times, like you don't need to have a last name, because your last name doesn't need to be around outside of your own village. It's the same in like Fae. Like people know who you are. They can tell what court you're from, and you say your first name is, it doesn't matter, right? But when you're in big places like Throne of Glass world, or in like Crescent City where there's like millions of people, like you have to have a last name so people know who you are. Anyway, that's probably not why Sarah J. Maas does it, but it's also a sign of evolution. Like it's a sign of evolution in the time, like when people have last names, because you need to be known. Also, if you don't care who your father is, it doesn't really matter what your last name is. Just saying, because you only are really honoring like your line by having a last name. But for who SJM is and what she does, I think he will have a last name that will get revealed. But it is weird that we wouldn't, because usually when you get married to someone, you like find out what their last name is. Like Feyre just become Feyre, High Lady of the Night Court, and she like lost a last name. She doesn't have one anymore.
But Feyre Darling.
Yeah, darling.
Right. You know, and is he Nick's recent son? Like, what's his name?
Recent son.
Yeah, that's a mouthful of a name there. But okay, or was it just Michelson? Do we know much about Reese's father? No, we don't. Does she have a sibling or a cousin that went missing? I mean, we're gonna find out. I'm sure there's stuff okay. Also, something that didn't get addressed enough, right? We didn't address this at all, is what Jessica said to the Prince of Hell at the end of the first book, because she knows who Hunt's father is.
That's right.
And we never brought that up again. We learn who Danica's father is, but we don't learn who Hunt's father is. That never gets brought up. We barely see Jessica in this book, but she's in Flame and Shadow, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Taught herself she switched houses, didn't she, somehow?
She was a witch, and she switched over to Flame and Shadow. One thing I want to say about Hunt and his dad, there's a scene, you may be getting ready to bring this up, and I just completely cut you off, but I'm going to say it anyway. There's a scene right at the end where Mordok is there sniffing him, And he's like, you don't smell like any other angel I've ever smelled. And I'm like, where did Hunt come from?
Well, because all that gets said about Hunt's dad is that, like, his father had probably, like, raped his mom, right? Or had abandoned his mom and was just gone. And, like, that's all that we know. Either that's because that's what his mom told him. Because did his mom just tell him that to, like, keep it a secret? Maybe it was, you know, I don't know. I'm just saying. Also, I really do wonder if this, because they mention it too. They say, like, they weren't allowed to come back, but, like, it's still possible for people to travel. It obviously is. Very obviously guard that, but it could be someone from somewhere that had come in. And then he disappeared, and so the mom just said that it was nobody because she was having to raise her son alone and was like, you know, it was tough. But maybe it's because it was a lover who came to visit and then couldn't come back. I don't know. I'm just making shit up now because it doesn't say that, but she doesn't ever tell him. So, but we never found out in this one because I'd remembered it at the end of Crescent City and I was like, oh, did I miss it? But that epilogue scene never gets brought up again yet. And Jessica continues to help us while pretending that she's going to kill us. And yeah, anyway, Candace, that is so sweet of you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you had a good time. Absolutely loved it. So thank you. That means a lot. Okay, what else with this? Yes, Jessica is such an intriguing character and she low-key helps. Yes, she does. She drops us off stuff whenever we need it. There's a hint that he was bred for a reason. Yeah, because he is also mega powerful. And we touch on that even more. And the way that him and Bryce, like, the way that she, like, can get powered up by people and the way that her and him paired together, like, they haven't been put to the test yet with this. And I'm hoping also when she's with people that they help her with her magic. That's what I want, because if the Night Court is good at one thing, they are good at training people up to do stuff.
Yeah.
So I would really like to see us do that. I totally see that. Oh, yes. It's so good. Thank you. You guys are so nice to me. Okay, we got to get to the theories. Thank you for all the praise. I appreciate it. So anyway, I don't know. This is all such like a jumble for me. I don't know where to go next. But I mean, we basically can be talking about other theories. I feel like that's what we're sitting with in here. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit. They were confusing to me. Yes, this is something we could dive into a little bit. Because there's 2-3 of them that we see. Are they really princes from hell with a HE double hockey stick? Are they princes from what they're calling hell? Is the Akatar world Prithian? Is that really hell? Or did she accidentally go to Prithian? So maybe all of the theories that I've just said are completely wrong anyway, and it's really hell is a completely different place that chased them out. And maybe Prithian doesn't have anything to do with them. I don't know. No, go ahead, Joe. Just pop in here.
This is what I'm hoping. And from like the kind of conversation that we were having before where you mentioned the prison, I'm thinking that the princes of hell are trapped in the prison. And they can communicate that way. And hell is Prithian. And they did have this war. And maybe they're trying to raise up their little, you know, prison people. I think that's what I'm thinking. I don't think it was an accident that she ended up in Prithian. I think Prithian is hell. But I think that the princes of hell are in the prison. Yeah. They're in the levels of the prison.
Right. Because there's a lot of people, a lot of those monsters that choose to stay there. Right? Because not a lot of them like ran away when, you know, Nesta fucking opened it wide open in the last one. That could be very, very interesting. I love that idea. That the rest of the people in the place like don't know, but like the people in prison do. And some of them are there because it's prison, because there's people who've been added to it over the years, but maybe it originally was like, oh, it's a prison, stay away from it, when really it's kind of like their sanctuary. Right? Maybe. I don't know. That's fascinating. Fascinating. My impression was that she accidentally wound up. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's why I'm confused. But also, it's like the people look like our people.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. That's why I think all of our other stuff is right. And where Joe says, well, maybe it's just this place that we don't go into. I mean, there also are places that people stay out of. You know, like there's that whole strip of place that has the bog and has other things. You know, there are places where they say creatures go that can't be anywhere else. You know, we only went to one little part of it. There's a whole strip of a place that has that. That could feel like a hellish place. So people really like that. It's really interesting. Okay.
I think it would be so cool, but you never know. I could be completely wrong. But I mean, I think that would be so cool.
Yeah. Whatever it's going to be fucking cool.
Well, duh.
You know, it's going to be cool. And from those little hints she said about how, like, you know, the next book, we're really like, we're going to see Bryce with our crew. Like, they're going to be with the Prithian crew. I can just imagine there's going to be so much info we're able to find out from them. Like, it's going to be so good. Like, oh my God, I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic. What did someone else say? And then I'll go to the other one. I thought she partly ended up in Prithian because the Sword was calling each other. Oh, damn, girl. And pulled Bryce to it since they were finally able to unite. That's great theory.
That's a great theory. Yeah.
That's a theory.
The theories are falling to each other. Okay, let's talk about this then. I know it's kind of like switching with it, but we didn't fully go into this when we were talking about Ethan earlier. So Ethan's little journey that he's going on, which granted, like this is one that is a slow one because it's so spread out what he's figuring out. But I think his journey is very interesting. What I don't know, okay, what I don't know and I'm interested in is that all of the other side stories we had going on did converge into this big thing, right? The stuff happening with Sophie and Emil, the secrets we're finding from Danica, even like, you know, all of those things kind of all converged together. You know, Agent Daybright and Celeste, like all that stuff, Hypaxia, all that stuff came together. This is the only storyline too that feels like it's going in a different way. And you know, we find like Ethan, because he's such a good boy, you know, he reaches out to the Prime. I'm sorry, my nose. It's so dry here. My poor little nose. It's so bad. And the Prime says that there's another heir. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like this is a cousin to Celine. Is that right? Like this is another granddaughter of his? Or that would make her like Danica's cousin? Like, what's the relation here? I can't remember.
I don't think it's specifically stated. He just says that
there's another heir.
Sabine, however you pronounce it, is not the only heir.
Okay.
Pretty much telling Ethan, hey, you might want to go check that out because she's going to be coming after her.
Right. But I'm just trying to think how she would be the heir if they're like peer level, like, you know, let's say, because Sabine is the Prime's daughter. Danica was his granddaughter. So did the Prime have other children that are like, and then she is another grandchild? Or is she like a sister of Sabine? That's what I don't know.
It says he had a son that Sabine supposedly battled and beat. But we don't know what happened to him. And we also don't know. I mean, this says that she had, like, she remembered, the wolf remembered a little bit of her time. Yeah. Like, she remembered being a child of like four or five.
Yeah.
So my guess is that even though Sabine defeated her brother, he didn't actually die, and he might have like ran, and that's why, because she said my family was very poor. Like he like ran away and was on the run, and that's why like they were really poor, and it was like a way to get money was to sell her, and maybe hopefully eventually he'd like someone would find this out and get back at his sister. Eventually.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out if, because to me that would make sense. Is if she was like Sabine's niece, it would be Danica's cousin. and she wasn't killed, but then she was eventually, because it was her parents sold her to this mystic, is what we think happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because my thing is that might not be true. Maybe her family was found and killed, and then instead, like, maybe they didn't have the heart to kill this child, and instead sold her to the mystic.
Could be.
That's where I would go. I mean, it could be she was sold in, but then he would still be out there somewhere, and he could still be well, he wouldn't be, because he was like defeated. He was exiled and became a lone wolf.
He must be dead, because the way that Ethan reacts to her being in this situation, like, how could your family have done this? Like, this is not what is done. Yeah. You know, they have battles between siblings, like with Sabine and her brother, but they don't sell their own. Like, it's a pack kind of thing, unless you're exiled for a different type of reason. So I'm thinking that she is Sabine's niece, but I think that her dad is dead, but I don't think Sabine killed him.
No, I don't think Sabine has an idea about that. Like, I honestly don't. For me, not because I want to think good of her, but I think she probably thinks she killed him, but he escaped somehow, and then had a child, and either like he died and then like the mom couldn't handle it, like couldn't keep taking care of her, or maybe someone finds out about him being alive but doesn't know about the child. And it's kind of like a Snow White and the Huntsman thing. Like, maybe they find out he's still alive and they send people to kill him, but they can't kill the child because they're like, I can't kill this child, but I'll sell her to the mystic. I don't know. That's just my guess on
or
it.
Maybe they sell her to the mystic because they know that Sabine will never stop until she's dead, so that Sabine will be the prime.
Yeah.
So they sell her to the mystic to keep her safe.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't know.
I don't know. I just think selling your child to that, it's like worse than death. Just the way that she's constantly tortured by every time she has to do that. I don't know. We need to see the contract. Yeah. To protect her from Sabine, or Sabine found her, told her. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Sabine would have just killed her. So that, like, honestly, she was willing to kill her own daughter.
Yeah.
I feel like she'd be willing to kill this. So maybe the wife was human. Maybe. Could be. Okay, where was I going to go next? My brain went with the Fender error. I don't know. Oh, yeah, I'm wondering, like, what importance this will have to the story overall. That's where I'm going with it. Because, like, obviously we want Sabine to go down. For sure. Want that to happen. But I just wonder. There's some things I wonder. Because also the Prime keeps calling Bryce a wolf. You know, every time he sees her, he calls her a wolf. Is that just because he adopted her, or is it because of another reason? Like, what does this mean? And what purpose could a true Fenrir heir serve to us overall? You know, that's just what my vague theory. And we might not find that even in, you know, a next book right away, but I just want to know what purpose there is to that, I guess is where I'm going. So here's another angle we can take with this sword. Let's like go with this too. Sorry, the sword gets lost. Who would have been the person who had brought it over here to fight? That's what I want to know. Is if there's like a High Lord who lost it, who came over and like maybe died here or something. I don't know. I'm just speculating on stuff, because how did the sword get over here to get lost?
Well, Daddy Autumn says that it's an ancient sword that was made in a different world. I mean, so it's obviously connected to them. I'm thinking.
Right. I'm wondering who brought it. That's what I'm asking.
I'm thinking that, well, the Star Sword was originally owned by the people who were like the original Starborn people, right?
I think so.
Like Thea, and that was Adis's lover, and this, that, and the other thing. So I don't know where they came from, but I'm assuming that it was just passed down from them.
I forgot about this.
Melissa! Tell us.
At the beginning, when they're at the CCB, right? They're at the ballet, and they see that statue, and the mom and Ember goes, "Oh, that looks like Hunt."
Mm-hmm.
It says, Bryce arched a brow, grateful for the change of subject, on and twisted toward where he pointed. On it, a fey male stood, poised above an anvil hammer raised skyward in one fist, lightning crackling from the skies, filling the hammer and flowing down toward the object of the hammer's intended blow, a sword. Could that be Hunt's father?
Forging the sword?
Interesting.
Or somebody in his line forging the sword? So that would mean that their lines would be tied?
I also missed someone. Braley had said this earlier too. The theory behind Hunt's real name is Orion, right? Because we never call him Orion, and he always brushes that off. That's a very like specifically like a celestial type of name too, being called Orion. Which, granted, it makes sense, you know, why his nickname is Hunt, because Orion is the hunter. Blah blah blah. But it is very interesting that his name is Orion too.
And he doesn't smell like any other angel, and he's perhaps bred for this type of thing. I'm thinking there's something sketchy with his lineage that we're going to find out.
Mm-hmm. There is also, I mean, we don't talk about them because we don't like them, but like Rhysand had brothers, you know, who had died during it, or had, you know, they weren't great. Well, did he kill them? Did he kill his brothers, or did they die? I don't know. They weren't great people. I'm not saying they were great, but like Rhysand's family was larger before everything happened. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Those are just some things.
He also had a sister.
Right. He did.
She was killed by Tamlin, or Tamlin's family.
Yeah. But also, I mean, they aren't that old, too. That's my point, is like Rhysand isn't 15,000 years old. So, not him, but I'm saying like they could be like cousins or something.
Yeah.
You know, because if the people who'd come over to do that, and then, you know, I don't know. This is amazing. We'll get to wrapping up this. We're at 2 hours now. This is amazing. Maybe Hunt has wings because he's related to Cassie's people. I mean, they all got the wings for sure. It is too. His wings are feathered ones. And none of like the people who we talked about this in a previous one. The feathered wings are from some of the other courts have feathered wings.
It's Miriam and Dracon or whoever his name is. They have the feathered wings. Yeah. I think that's all the people who have the feathered wings in ACOTAR.
Yeah.
I think so did whichever court was not Helian's court, the other celestial court.
Yeah.
I think they have feathered.
There's the Peregrines.
That's what I was thinking. Peregrines.
Yeah, because that's who Rhys consults about Nyx's wings, and like how their people birth them and everything. So yeah. Anyway, I just thought, oh right, the Seraphims. There we go. Thank you. But who are the Seraphims in ACOTAR? Are there Seraphims in ACOTAR?
I think it's Miriam and Dracon or whatever. Is it not?
I don't remember, but that sounds right. I know that there was like 2 feathered type wings, and then the rest are all more like bird-like, or not bird-like, bat-like ones. Yeah. Like, yeah, the wings of the of Rhys's court, they're bat-like ones. But there's 2 different that are like feathered like ones. So anyway, well, I don't know. I'm sure we missed so much stuff, but also this was amazing. Yes. Okay. Thanks, Candace. Thank you. Good job, Joe. You're right. So are there any other theories you want to share that we didn't get to? Because again, I know we didn't go directly forward. I think we kind of touched on this. So this was always my big question from the very beginning. And I think we've proved it kind of with the timeline, that it is concurrent running timelines. We didn't move time, we just moved space. And that kind of matches up based on what Amren has said about when there was, it was 15,000 years ago when things were happening. And that seems to match up with stuff. So I'm of the opinion now we're at the time. Do we think that the time that they come is after everything in Silver Flames? Like, are we exactly up to time? Do you think so?
I would say so, yeah, because if not, then we would have to either backtrack or move forward. If anything, it's forward, maybe a little bit, but I wouldn't say that it's years and years and years and years and years forward. But I would say it's right around the same time, like the 3-month jump,
Yeah.
that kind of area.
Silver Flames and House of Earth and Blood were happening at the same time.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
I agree with you. And my reason being is like who's at the house when it happens, because we have Azriel outside. Once we come in, like we see Amryn and we see like Nesta and Cassian is who I see explained. And then we have Rhys and Feyre join in. And so me seeing Nesta and Cassian like hanging in the same area makes me think Silver Flames is like done. But Elaine's not there that I see explained. I don't see her explained. So that's what I got to. I just wanted to bring it up to see if we thought we were at the same kind of place, where I think is the best time for it to be, because we have like went through all the traumatic stuff of Silver Flames. We have, Nesta is able to summon the tools if she needs them. There's no place they can hide them where she can't call them to her if she needs them. We definitely need Nesta's help. I don't care what we think. Nesta is our possibility to jump through worlds. I'm just saying it because she can literally move like time and space with her fucking harp that she's got. Nesta's our badass. Who's your guess for the cover? Great question. I think it's going to be Ruin. Ruin would be the purple man for me. That's what I think. I think Ruin's on the cover.
Also,
I would hope.
Looking at this cover, like there's so many like hidden little things on the cover that I was like,
Queen.
Yeah, there's eyeball. There's like
even if you like open it, do you have the one with the picture too?
Yeah.
You can really see some stuff in here. There's little moons hidden all over too.
There's a wolf.
Mm-hmm. There's shells.
His wings kind of look like owl eyes. I don't know if that like is it called like the Thunderbird.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he's hot. He is hot.
He also has one like gold eye and one black eye. That's kind of creepy. Yeah, and his purple lightning. It's pretty cool. It's pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sick. Nesta is going to train Bright. Well, I don't know about that, Lizelle. I think Azriel will probably do it. If Bryce became a Valkyrie, oh my God. I mean, honestly, her and Nesta would just have a snark off. Like, I just can't wait for it. Like, it's going to be great. I know Nesta is like, a lot of the bite will be taken out of her snark, but they're going to have a snark off. Like, just her banter she had with Therian, like, I can't even imagine. I love it. If she's able to talk with Nesta, that's the thing. She might not be able to talk with anybody else.
Language barrier, yeah.
I think trainer, just based off of that.
There'll be some spell someone can do, a language thing or whatever. Well, also, isn't it like a little known thing that Bryce can learn other languages really easily? That's how she knows so many. Maybe they'll like give her a book to study. She was a scholar that Gwen worked with. Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you for bringing this up, Amanda, because we talked about that when we broke down Silver Flames, because Meryl is this like bitch, but like she knows so much about this. Like she had done so much looking up about this. So absolutely. And Amanda, she will be doing this. Yep, she is doing this. The next book, she said, is the team up book. That's why we see that. There will still be Crescent City stories and ACOTAR stories, though, about who's the main focus. So we will most likely see a big portion of the gang from ACOTAR in Crescent City 3, but it's still a Crescent City book. Like we will be focusing on saving Crescent City from what's going on, would be my guess. But she did say there are still stories to be told in ACOTAR as well, which she better, because Elaine and Azriel, they need stories, whether they'll be the same story or separate ones. We need their stories. Like she's not leaving those people hanging, but Crescent City will have them in it. The SE paperbacks look gorgeous. They sure do. All right. I think we got through a lot. Obviously, this isn't everything. I do plan closer to the next one, maybe. I don't know. But we will have another live show where we kind of discuss everything. this we were mostly focusing on this and theories, but this was just so fun. And there are some people who did fall behind a little bit that I still really want them to be in on the fun. But I didn't want to push this back because I was ready for SJM-Along to be like completed so we can get on to other things. But either we'll have a little like reboot closer to the end of the year, or we'll just have like a surprise night to just really dive into even more theories, because there's going to be more stuff coming out. You know, there's going to be more like info that gets shared. I'm sure when the paperbacks come out, there'll be more like tidbits for us to get into. But it's fascinating. I'm so glad of all you that this was your first time reading these books, and people who are rereading. Like, this has been more than I ever hoped it would be. So thank you everybody who joined. And I hope I made SJM fans out of some of you. And yeah, this was amazing. So thank you everyone for joining. And Candace, you go ahead. You start all over. They will still exist in the playlist. So if you need to go back and visit them, that'd absolutely be so much fun. So yes, we'll do another read along of something soon. You know, like we'll do something. These are so much fun. So anyway, I hope everyone has a wonderful night. Don't get tricked by any April Fool's jokes tomorrow. And we'll see you again soon. Good night.